go. I do believe we're live. So I'll say indeed and greetings unto you, beloved and holy friends. Thank you for joining me again on another conscious evolution, another opportunity for us to be present, to be patient, to be participating with the inner child. That is what I want to talk about today. We all used to be children. Alright? That goes without saying. We all used to be little babies. We all used to be helpless. We all used to need the universe, our mothers, our fathers, to take care of us. Alright, in so many words. And today specifically, I've been thinking about the fact, I'm trying to formulate how exactly I want to say, that the outer world has changed since I was a kid. In many ways. In so many ways. Like, beyond comprehension, many ways. Tomorrow, or potentially the day after tomorrow, me and Christian, I'm sure, maybe more people, will be watching the new Lilo and Stitch movie. I'm pretty sure it came out today, and I need to make sure. I wanna have my facts straight when I'm talking about this. When did the original Lilo and Stitch movie came out? What the whoa? I thought it was 2006. 2002. So when I was a 4-year-old, when I was 4 years old, I saw the Lilo and Stitch movie for the first time, probably. 4-year-old. I'm 27 now. 23 years. 2 decades and a bit have passed since the time that I experienced that movie first. And now, there is a new one coming out. A new Lilo and Stitch. I see there is now ratings. It's getting like a 7.3 out of 10 at IMDb. 73% on Rotten Tomatoes. Right, that's not bad. I feel like that's fine enough. But I feel like the movie is going to be watched with the intent of experiencing that part of my childhood again. Right? Seeing how the outer world has changed alongside me. Right? Experiencing it for the perspective of experiencing. There definitely is this part of me that enjoys childish things, to say it in so many words, right? To be playful, to watch animated shows, to experience the sense of lightness, right? Like, again, me and Christian have actually been watching, hey Anna, and I see Sam is here too. Me and Christian have been watching Attack on Titan, finishing the last season, the last parts, right? And it is very brutal. I am enjoying it because it's very emotional and it's very intensity driven, right? It's not really violence driven, I think, at least. There's a lot of violence, but it's not about the violence. It's more about uh, the reason. And they're really good at communicating the reason and how different people have different reasons for violencing and all of the difficulty, and as soon as you start that cycle, how hard it is to stop. And I communicated to Christian that if I had to see some of the stuff that I was witnessing as a kid, I probably would have nightmares. But at this point in my life, it's not something that phases me in the same way anymore. I did mention a while ago that me, Christian, and Paige tried to watch a Terrifier movie, and we managed to get like 2 minutes into the second movie because apparently that was the best one, and we couldn't. I at least couldn't, and I opted out. I was like, I don't think I don't think I want to watch this. And it definitely like communicates to me that there is this balance in my being, where despite the fact that I'm now 27 years old, I still gravitate towards the things that the inner child in me can be fascinated by, right? Like there's still a lot of cool happening in like an Attack on Titan kind of universe, right? There's cool weapons, there's cool scenes, there's cool technology, there's cool developments in character, right? It's like cool. The kid self is like, yeah, this is so cool. And I feel like it's interesting to me to notice how the outer world hasn't been able to change me. Sure, I've been changed by the outer world, but in the ways that I feel matter, to me at least, I remain pretty much the same kind of person. What's up, Meltmore? Terrifier 1 is better, but not as fun to watch in a group as the second. Yeah, we tried to watch it in a group, Hendrik. Like, I don't have the appetite, right? Like, there's nothing in me that wants to eat whatever that is, right? There is something in me that wants to eat, uh, I want to say beauty, right? Like, I'm thinking about, like, for instance, I have a little list here. Maybe I can read you from this list. I have a whole list of movies. Elemental, Intergalactic. That is technically an adult animated movie. Nimona, awesome. Absolutely awesome movie. Orion in the Dark, incredible. Over the Moon, super cool as well. Rango, yes, Rango. Rango is so cool. Raya the Last Dragon, I haven't seen personally. Robots with Robert Williamson, insanely good movie. Soul, The Bad Guys, The Iron Giant, The Sea Beast, The Monkey King, Ultraman Rising. Which one is this? And Onward. Right? All of these movies are made for children, technically. Right? And I can acknowledge that the inner child in me is still very much alive and well. Right? Doesn't want to see some of the Yasibo Bossy stuff sometimes that the outer world, can produce. I heard that they fucked up the live action Lilo and Stitch, and honestly, how could they not? Part of what makes that movie special is all of the watercolor. I mean, 73% on Rotten Tomatoes is not that bad, right? That means that there is at least some sort of sentiment that it's not completely botrascious. So I'm hoping, Sam, that it's gonna be tolerable. I'm hoping that it's gonna be at least nostalgic, right? Because that is what I want to go and watch it for. I want to give this inner child of me something, right? Like a little gift, like a little time. Here you go. What's up, Meltmore? Bless you again. In my opinion, the cast for Lilo looks not as bad as I expected, but to maintain the magic is more than just the cast. This is true. I love Stitch. I love Stitch, right? I wanted a Stitch more than anything in the universe. Maybe I wanted an Omnitrix pretty bad as well. But I would literally fantasize as a child, right? And again, now seeing that I watched that movie as a 4-year-old, I fantasized for a long time, right? I believed, I was convinced, in fact, because I was a very unhappy child, to be completely honest, right? One, I've always had a very active imagination, and two, I was raised in a very strict Christian household. Three, I was terrified by my parents by the prospect of hell and demons and getting raptured, right? I understood I was gonna get raptured as my parents were trying to teach me. By the age of like 4, I knew I was gonna get raptured one day, right? And literally, every single time I would find myself in a space and there was no other people, I was convinced that the rapture came and I was left behind. So as a kid, I was very not happy, uh, very not happy, and I would have these terrors. Right? I couldn't close my eyes without seeing demons, and I'm not joking about that, unfortunately. And Lilo and Stitch was one of those movies that gave me a sense of comfort that made me feel something, right? Other than what my parents were trying to teach me. And I was convinced. I was so convinced that if I could get a Stitch, if I had a little Stitch of my own, if Stitch came down from space, landed in my garden, and I could adopt Stitch as my dog, my strange looking dog, that I would be happy. I'm getting emotional talking about this a little bit. Whew. I'm happy. My little kid self. Getting a Stitch wasn't what did it for me. I had to stop believing the things the world was telling me I am, or what was going to happen to me for me to find happiness in myself. I had to cut like a little slice of reality out of this infinity, right, that I could kind of lean into and find comfort within. It's so wild to me how oh, how much I've grown. 24 years, 23 years. 23 years have passed. And here I am. Still looking at these same hands. I see a new friend. Hey, Shadow Monarch. It's nice having you. Sending blessings to you. Doesn't matter. Most of them are gold until today. Kids movies is just a suggestion. Exactly. It's more like this movie kids can watch as well, right? We're not going to scar them forever by the definition of the movie's genre, right? And again, I don't like being scarred. For what it's worth, I don't like that. I don't like that. All right, I kind of like being intact, staying whole. What's the topic? We're talking about the inner child, Shadow Monarch. The inner child, and how much we've grown since being children. Right, and all of the things that have happened to us, and all of the ways in which we've changed up until this point. The best example for kid stuff is Pokemon nowadays. I saw that shit. It's kind of yikes what's happening in the States with the scalpers and the Pokemon cards. I'm so happy that I'm not into that stuff. Oh my goodness, it looks like toxic sludge. And I wouldn't want to touch that shit with a 50-foot pole. Yeah. Such a yikes. Oh my goodness. How are Crazy Tankin and Big Boy doing today? Crazy Tankin. Big Boy is the husband? I'm so confused. I'm guessing you're asking about the little one and the big one. Show Sam's two kids. Love is true. Yeah, coercion to be saved by terrifying young children with thoughts of hell, demons, and torture. Yeah. I'm never gonna do that shit to my kid. Please don't. I literally believe it's like some of the most heinous abuse you can like enact on a child is doing that. Right, and I've said that to my parents. I'm like, that's abuse. You convinced me that one, hell was real. Just to say that. Right? Like that should be a punishable offense. Maybe it's a little bit rough to say that about my own parents, but fuck you. I'm sorry. Fuck you for doing that. Seriously. How dare you? How fucking dare you? I was a 4-year-old, right? My fucking cognition was just switching on. And they like started pumping it full of demons are real, and if you don't believe in this thing we believe in, you're gonna burn in hell for eternity. Right? And how are you supposed to process information like that? The way I processed it is by pulling away from it, of course, right? That's the only way, because I had to pave a path for myself. I had to realize that there is truth in my own experience and my own being beyond what my parents were trying to force down my throat. And then they're surprised, right? My dad is still, to this day, convinced that I'm the one that has lost my path. All right, I've like strayed from the path, right? Thinking that the path that he wants me on is a good one, where I'm like so clearly convinced that it's probably the worst thing possible you can do to a child. But they don't get that, right? Because again, from their narrative, that's how you are saved. All right, you should know you're gonna potentially burn in hell for eternity, so that you can choose not to be or whatever. And you know what the best part is? And I think this is kind of like one of the caveats of Christianity, is that if you don't know, you're kind of like not beholden to those rules. I think that's like one of the things, right? Where if you actually don't know and you still did live a life of like goodness, you will be judged by your character and not by whether or not you believe these things. And then the Crusades happened, and they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna go and tell them, and if they don't believe, we're gonna kill them." So much pain, so much pain, so many children displaced, killed, because they were a part of the wrong side of history. Oh my goodness. Crazy, who works at an auto parts distribution center, goes in at 4:30 every morning and works his non-existent ass off. He's alive, but won't commit to more than that. I feel you. I don't know who Crazy is. I'm guessing that's your beloved, Sam? Tell Crazy I feel with him. I made an apprenticeship as a construction mechanic. My thoughts go out to him. Love is true. Kid is slamming bottles every 2 hours, playing, watching, honestly questionable cartoons, and just hanging out with me. I think he's okay. He isn't screaming. Are you showing him Bluey, Sam? Do you know what Bluey is? Uh, I feel like that's what you're supposed to show him. Bluey and Hilda. That's the only show that you should show your child right now, Sam. And I know I'm backseat parenting, but please, please, Bluey and Hilda on repeat. All right, that kid should be able to recite, especially Hilda. Hilda first. Hilda is so beautiful that uh, I have literally cried. I have cried so much watching Hilda. It's so beautiful. Like that's two shows that I can say is not questionable. Like if a child has to watch something, if I ever have a child, Hilda is gonna be like curriculum. Bluey and Hilda. Rick and Morty is gonna have to take a back seat. Maybe until he's like at least 7. Like wait until he's 7. I think like even later, technically Rick and Morty is a little bit rough. Me being a parent, like, you're 7 years old. Yeah, you can handle some Rick and Morty. But Bluey and Hilda is, I think, for like brain still developing. Watch that. That's good stuff. I'm getting to your comments. I kind of want to like go and put some. Uh, to be honest, it's beef tallow on my lips. My sister made me some cream out of beef tallow. She boiled a bunch of lavender leaves in beef tallow and then filtered everything out and then whipped it up so it's kind of fine. Backseat parenting. How many children do you have, Mel? Many. But I fathered none of them. Yeah, that's the yogi answer. I'm coming back in a second. All right. Back again. Nice. That was a level of corny. That was a level of too corny for my liking. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. Ask corny questions, get corny answers, dude. uh, love is true. Let me get back to it. I started listening to John Sinclair. I know Patrick. Is it Patrick Sinclair? David Sinclair? I think I know David Sinclair, the longevity scientist, but I don't know John Sinclair. I don't think, at least. John Sinclair when I was 7, and I'm still turning out not to be a psycho most of the time. You sure? I'm casting shade. Love is. I freaking cut myself with my nail practicing yoga. It sounds fair. Tell crazy. I feel for him. Love is true again. He isn't screaming. Sounds like a good indicator. He is all right, I suppose. It's true. It's true. Yeah, babies usually scream when they don't feel heard. Melta's gonna read all of that and go, "Who the fuck is Crazy Tankin?" That's my husband's gamer tag. Ah, makes sense. Checks out. Yeah, we don't have those scalpers in Germany. The German editions are not worth shit. Checks out. Checks out. That's kind of sad. Why though? Isn't it like just a matter of like rarity? Like they scalp them because they want to sell the boxes because there are people online that open them hoping that they'll find something. John Sinclair is a horror series. Ah, okay. Yeah, I think I know David Sinclair. It is David Sinclair that I'm thinking about, right? David Sinclair? Yes. An Australian American biologist and academic. Yeah, that is who one Sinclair that I do know. Mm-mm-mm. Sam, are you a Simpsons? Or how did you predict that? Did I miss something? Yeah, Melt being like, who is that? I like asking questions. I think Sam knows this about me at this point. If I don't know something, I'm gonna be like, asking question, asking question. I don't like particularly being out of the loop, so I usually try and like force myself into the loop. You know, I'm the kind of person that will literally see a group of people just having a conversation, and then I'll just like shimmy myself into that circle. I have no shame whatsoever. I'll do that. I've done that many times, many times. Sometimes I usually come with a gift, right? I'll be like, shimmy myself into the circle and be like, "You friends want to smoke a joint?" And I've never been pushed out of a circle again. Yeah, I can say that. It's true. No, 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 no. German editions. Sorry you went through that, bro, but the challenges we endure all shape us to who we need to be. This is true. I am who I am today because of all of those things as well. I get that, Tropic of Neptune. I was just getting emotional thinking about that, right? And thinking about how much has changed since those days, right? I'm thinking about that version of me as a child that had these prerequisites, right? Like I couldn't find happiness in my world, right? My parents were not making me happy. My school was not making me happy. No amount of getting stuff was making me happy. So I believe that surely if I had a stitch, then maybe happy, right? And I feel like I've shared this before, but I want to share it again. I went from that like extremely unhappy child to being a very angry child, especially towards my father. And then because of that anger, pulling away from religion, because if my dad is this and so, then how can I believe in this almighty father kind of fractal, right? Didn't make sense to me. And then I became like a raging atheist, right? Angry atheist. The God is dead kind of atheist. And then I I didn't care, to say it in so many words, right? That don't care attitude of like legitimately having absolutely no remorse, having no care, having no drive to believe in anything, right? Just this feeling of like, nothing matters. I'm gonna die one day and turn into worm food, and the neurons that are firing in my brain right now will cease, and so will this thing that I think I am. Right? And I believe that. And I lived my life with that being my truth. And because of that, and because of my understanding of neurons firing, I started experimenting, right? First, the universe experimented on me by doctors prescribing me antidepressants. And then I started experimenting on myself by pulling away from antidepressants and moving towards cannabis. And then, because of cannabis giving me this experience, and me being particularly at that point in my life aligned with natural medicines, right? Because again, they gave me these things in a bottle made by some sort of lab, right? And it fucked me up, like properly messed me up in ways that I never knew possible. So I was like, oh hell no. I don't want any person's like, and that's the kind of the way my mind was thinking. I don't want a person's fingers in my brain, right? Even if they think they know what's going on, I don't want any. So I transitioned to cannabis, and then because of cannabis and the profound experiences that I had because of that, experimenting continues to do acid 6 times a week. I would at least, Hendrik, because of my research, I would know that there was tolerance build up, and you lose the beauty and the significance of the experience if you don't give yourself minimum 2 weeks between trips. So I've always been respectful of those rules, fortunately. Right? But it did. You're not wrong, technically. It did kind of get to that point where I was like, oh, cannabis didn't make me a raging murderer, psychopath. Maybe what my family has been telling me is wrong. And then I did more research about natural remedies. And again, I was depressed at that point. And my grandma developed. You're from South Africa? Yeah, I guess. I guess from South Africa. Off. My grandma at that point in my life developed Alzheimer's, developed was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So, as a 17, 18-year-old, I watched my grandma deteriorate, right? Become less and less of herself. And then seeing that, I had to need to know kind of vibes. I had to figure out what can I do to fight against that is my eventual reality. Because it was bad enough for me to think that I'm going to be eaten by worms one day, and that's going to be it. But it was worse to imagine myself cognitively deteriorating until I get to that point, right? So it didn't take me long to figure out that mushrooms, right, were a thing in my world. And again, they were a fungus that grew from the earth. So I didn't see any problem with it. And I did have an experience with friends where they gave me 2 grams, and we watched. That was when the original Doctor Strange movie came out, the one with him falling through that kaleidoscope universe, and it was just me and the guy was named Bjorn, who took mushrooms that day, and he had a few mushroom experiences under his belt, to say it in so many words, up until that point, and they were gonna give me my first mushroom experience, and they gave me 2 grams, and he ate around 2 grams as well, and the level of trip that he had, right? Like significantly smaller than me, but the level of trip he had like having his eyes peeled open, his mind split in half, getting like absolutely rolled by reality kind of experience. And I was like, this is nice. I'm having a good time. I was watching the movie with a smile on my face, like, that's cool. I'm enjoying this, right? There was no, oh my, oh, what the fuck is happening? There was just me being like, sick. And then I kind of like, he was almost like tripped out by the fact that I wasn't tripped out, right? Like he had this direct experience of like feeling a sense of a discombobulation, to say it in so many words, by the fact that it was my first ever experience, and he had many times had this experience, and the level of stability that I could keep as a being despite having this first experience, and he couldn't keep two dry grams. Yeah, that ain't bad for a first trip. Exactly, I think it's more than enough, right, for a first trip. He couldn't fathom. It was like I could see it breaking his brain actively. Like he would like, how are you? How are you not? And then the experience kind of like tapered off. I remember there was one moment in the bathroom, sorry, where I was like, I don't feel normal. I do not feel normal. And then I had a shower, and it was one of the best showers I've had in my life. And then I came out of it, and he had 2 friends around him, almost like doing emotional CPR. It looked like he wanted to keep telling us something, right? Like this thing that was like heavy on his heart that he wanted to tell us, but he couldn't. And the thing that I thought he wanted to tell us is that uh, he wanted to come out of the closet. That's the way that all of us interpreted, that he wanted to like desperately get out of the closet, but he also didn't want to almost like admit that to himself, right? And we were like, yes, okay, come here, come out of the closet. Here we are. We're gonna be here to hug you, even if you come out of the closet. Right? That's again my perception in that moment. I don't even know if that was true. We ended up turning in, and I couldn't sleep. Right? That's one of the things that the psychedelic experience does to me. It gets my mind just. So I ended up not sleeping that well, and next day we just kind of went with it. Went back. Like they were friends that introduced me to like smoking weed a little bit more actively as well. And then I acquired 3 grams because I was like, well, the 2 grams clearly didn't do anything for me. Maybe the 3 grams will be able to. So I acquired 3 grams. It was again, right? Nightmare kind of situations. Not really. It's just because of the nature of that whole fractal, the amount of paranoia that goes through your body. I again acquired someone's number, right? And again, I acquired this number from someone else. They were technically someone who sells weed, but I asked them if they could acquire mushrooms for me. And then they were like, yeah. And they were like, how much do you want? And I go, I want 3 grams. And they're like, okay, bet. And I was in my last year of high school at that point, right? And I was already 18, which, if that matters to you, I was at least. But I was already 18, and then I was literally living in the hostel at that point. And I leave the school grounds essentially, and I walk and I walk and I take a right turn and I walk deeper and deeper into a neighborhood, right? And like eventually I'm in like a neighborhood and there's this like little crossing, and he tells me to wait on that crossing. But as I'm walking there, I'm like extremely paranoid, right? I'm like looking at everybody around me, like someone is sweeping the street and like they're an undercover cop, and I'm like waiting with the money on me because I had money to give him for the mushroom. And I was like so stressed that the police was gonna like catch me and then have the money on me and like have all of the texts and be like, oh look, you're a criminal, and then I was gonna have my life ruined because I was 18, right? So I was like prosecutable under law. And then this guy in like a golf stops next to me and he's like, hey, oh, right, are you the guy? I'm like, yeah. And then I gave him 300 Rand, which is like $15. And then he gave me in a package this one massive mushroom, like literally mushroom this size. It was enormous, right? But a 3 gram one. And I was like, sick. No, no world exploding. And I, like, again, still stressed, walked all the way back to the hostel, mushroom in pocket. And I had it. And then I like basically set out this intention that this weekend that's gonna come, I'm going to go and eat this mushroom. So at that point, I was not as open with my parents as I am these days, but I let them know that I was going to do intense meditation. That's what I told them. And I am not to be disturbed while meditating. Okay? And I like wrote out on a piece of paper, do not disturb me. And I put it on my door and I closed that door and I consumed that massive mushroom. Intense indeed. So intense, dude. And I consumed that mushroom. And I was literally, hey Morgan, it's nice having you. The Haridas are going nuts just for a second. I was just on my bed, right? I started by listening to some music, and it was semi cold, right? So I had blankets over me, kind of like one of these little fleece blankets. And as I got deeper and deeper into this experience, I was overwhelmed with this sense of okay, to say it in so many words, right? I was literally just me on my bed with a blanket, and I was overwhelmed. And I'm saying overwhelmed very deliberately, right? Like having the universe thrust upon me gratitude, so much gratitude just for existing, just for the simplicity of being and having the sense to feel my blanket. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? How is this? How can I be this happy? I would like literally ask. I was flabbergasted, so confused, shocked even that I could just be happy existing. right? And again, from the perspective that I've shared with you, from that kid self that believed that I would finally be happy if I got a stitch, right? As I grew up, unfortunately, that never went away in me, where happiness was always something directly attached to receiving, right? My happiness was attached to someone telling me I'm great, or my happiness was attached to my girlfriend at the time wanting to kiss me, or my happiness was attached to the way that I looked, or my happiness was attached to getting a new outfit. Like all of my happiness up until that point in my existence was conditional, right? I had to have something, I had to get something, I had to do something, and then I could feel this fleeting sense of happiness, and then it would dissipate again. And then it would be the next thing, and then it would be the next thing. And then just like being, right? Sure, I ate the mushroom, sure. But I was just there, right? Nothing else happened after the fact. I was just existing, and I was like, "Oh my goodness. Wow, wow, so happy." And that completely shocked me. It shook me to my core because it showed me that what I think happiness is isn't conditional, right? It's more a matter of like gratitude. It's like this deep appreciation for what life is and what I'm here for. And after that, it changed my life. It changed the way that I approach other people. It showed me that I have this ability to generate happiness internally, and I could. And I like at that point in my life, I was a bad guy. Do you still do mushrooms? Yes. Less these days. Last time I did mushrooms was like last year, August, right? I'm way more into LSDs these days because it's a little bit more outer world, where mushrooms can be a little bit more inner world. But yes, psychedelics still play a very beautiful role in my life. They are neurogenerative, right? They boost brain-derived neurotrophic factors, so you literally end up growing new brain cells. They extend your dendrites as well. They create the opportunity for you to be like a receptor to universal information. So yeah, still very much so. I am helped by these things, right? I stay far, far away from dopamine stuff. So your cocaines and your methamphetamines and your Adderalls and Concertas, right? Like I do technically, I am ADHD. What's the word? Diagnosed, and I have access to these medications, and I do technically have like a little thingy full of them. But I've taken six. I wanted to say five. I've taken like 5 or 6 in the last 2 years of me having that medication, and I only take it when I really do want to like melt any distraction and I want to like focus hard time. When I like did work last year for a client, and like I get let know by a client that they want like work done for Sunday, and it was something like 14 14 different artists creating whole slides and then building that slides into videos, and then that videos were gonna go on video walls. So I was like, oh, guess I'm going to not sleep. And I didn't sleep much. I slept like 4 hours that weekend. But I got it done and I got paid. Boom. Felt good. So yeah, these things are tools to be used, but I feel the psychedelic tool is definitely one that has a lot more leverage in my life at this point. Let me get back to the comments. Thank you for listening to the story. Mm-mm-mm-mm. I've known Melt for a few years. He's predictable. Yeah, yeah. Did you predict that? Huh? Bet you didn't. Fuck, predicting. I was just poking fun back. No, 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 no. Sorry you went through that, bro. It's true. Love is true. You're on a good path, and I can't speak for others, but you're a positive role model for me, man. Tropic of Neptune. I appreciate that statement, Brown. Love is true. I think it's very healthy to not walk the rest of one's life with parents' belief systems. A very difficult thing to do, but necessary, I would say. It's true. You're right of the difficulty. You know, that's a conversation I've had with my dad as well. is I don't think he realizes that it's harder for me to pull away from their belief system than it would have been for me to just stay with it. Right? Like this is not the easy path. Choosing this path is definitely the path less walked, especially in my culture and society. I lived with my parents in my early 20s, and despite loving them, it's really not good for anyone. I don't shame or judge, but changed everything for the better. It's true. Yeah, my change is coming too, right? The next place that I'll be living long term is gonna be with my wife. All right, that's gonna be a big change, whole different change. I get weird. It gets weird when you're an adult. Even when I visit home, I feel like a teenager again. I love the saying from Ram Dass where he goes, "If you think you are enlightened, go and spend a week with your parents." One of my favorite sayings because it's true. Backseat parenting, Sinclair most of the time. Yeah, but not for the German ones. Even in Germany, the real collectors prefer collecting the English editions. They actually print them in German. I didn't know that. That makes sense, I guess. The German editions of Pokemon are usually really owned by children or enthusiasts. That's what I like about the German Pokemon scene. I get it. Experimenting, continue to do that 6 times a week. Yeah, that's too much. Don't do acid 6 times a week. Do acid if you're going to once every 6 weeks. And only once you've matured. This is not advice, right? Do your own research. And etc. and etc. Bro, how are you? And when are you planning to give me your channel? As soon as I have your first child, right? And I can put them to work. I don't want baby. They have to be at least of working age. I have to be able to put them to work. Can they wash dishes? Can they mow lawn? And then maybe I'll think about giving my channel. Hi Moon, hi Mel. Hey Dream Tooth. Sending you blessings. Here's Africa, yeah. Yeah, that was my problem with ecstasy. I took up to 3 grams. That's like lethal dose. Like you couldn't die of that much. 3 to 4 times a week at peak. Jeez. I'm so happy you're clean since 2017. Yeah. Yeah. Respect your neurons. I'm happy that you're not doing that anymore. That is a bunch. Do you do a lot of self-inquiry? As much as I can. Day by day, I keep asking. I keep asking. I've more answers these days than ever before, but I still think it's important to continue questioning nonetheless, you know. This experience doesn't stop. Bro, I also need Kobe. A friend of mine on acid once sat 6 hours straight in the armchair just to stand up, say, "Stones are bridges to walls into the abyss," just to sit down again for another 4 hours. Stones are bridges to walls into the abyss. Yeah, Liz D's can definitely uh, make you loop, right? Me and my friends call it the acid loops, where you basically become convinced, and it can be very tumultuous, not nice being in that space as well, right? That's why it's important for you to have other things to do. That's why it's important for you to be able to move from one room to another, have music potentially available. Breaking those loops can be very beneficial. Just sitting in the same armchair, that's like the same loop, loopity loopity, loopity loop loops, loop 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 loops. But yeah, good shrooms are quite rare in Germany. You can get the knockoff in Netherlands. Oh yeah, the truffle ones, right? Yeah, they're not quite as strong. You have to eat a lot of them in the head shops, but they're not the real deal. Intense indeed. Adidas. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, deep sense of just gratitude for existence. But is the goal for you spirituality? I am. I saw your message before you redacted it. I am a spiritual person, to say it in so many words. Shadow monarch, right? Spirituality to me means, and this is my personal. What is the goal for you, spirituality? Spiritually, and better question. So I can still kind of continue my train of thought. Religion. Religion is when a bunch of people agree on what God is, right? It's like we come together and we praise and worship God. And then I look to you and I can kind of assume that you believe in the same God I believe, right? And we agree on what God is. Where spirituality is the pursuit, right? The seeking, the looking for, the active exploration of what God is, right? So for me, that is my goal in spirituality. It's to find God in everything. It's to find God in the trees, in my friends, in my delicious meal, in an amazing TV show, in a conversation with a stranger, in a deep sense of peace that washes over me when I'm looking at mountains, right? That for me is the goal, if there is a goal to be had in spirituality. And I achieve that goal daily, right? By showing up lovingly. That's like my motto is that love is true. That this thing that I am is capable of so many things, but the only truth is love, right? I'm capable of anger, and I'm capable of hate, and I'm capable of jealousy, and I'm capable of pettiness. I'm capable of all of those things, but none of those things are true, right? In the sense that truth is to me. However, love as an energy is the one truth that I can rely on. What God would that be? No. No, I just told you. I just told you. God is everything, Shadow Monarch. Everything. The trees, the food, the patience, the grass underneath me, this blankie keeping me warm right now, this shiny piece of silver extracted from the world, right? God is everything. There is no separation in my belief system. There you cannot. Sure. Sure. That too. There is no separating, right? As soon as you have become convinced that God is this thing out there somewhere, I feel you've missed the point. All right. And that is my personal conviction. It's almost a triple the lethal dose for someone of tolerance. Yeah, no, I know, bro. I think lethal dose is about 1,200 milligrams for 80 kgs. That's about how heavy I am right now. Yeah, that would kill me 100%. I'm happy that you're still here, bro. Yeah, he thought he was cooking, but he didn't turn on the oven. Bro, I am the abyss, gazing at you. If you gaze back, you will be lost in a bottomless chasm. Chasm? Chasm? Unironically, right? Uh, again, Hendrik, like the god of acid, if you have to talk about it like that, will be mind expansive, right? Maybe even mind losing, where the god of meth will convince you that you're the best. Yeah, yeah, I'm so great, so great, so great. But the one tweaks your neurons indefinitely, creating a sense of grandiose self-importance to the point where you might not be able to achieve that in any of your personal endeavors. Where Lizdis doesn't really do that to you. It more is imaginative, right? But I am the best. Yeah, and so am I. And so is that little ant. All right. It starts running away. I'm sorry, little ant. I'm gonna leave them alone. I'm the best Hendrik I ever was. Yeah, that's the way you should think about it, right? Be the best Hendrik that's ever been. Show up in a way where people can see God in you. That's what I believe. The point is, right, that you can believe in God all you want, but I won't be convinced in you just believing in it. If you show up in a way that's so godly that I'm like, Yossi, surely God must exist because look at how great, how kind, how patient this person is. That to me is more close or akin to what I think God's supposed to be. Do you think to have a belief system is necessary? No, I don't. I just think it's very convenient for us as people because we are narrative driven, right? We like a story. My story is in part influenced and shaped by a pulling away from other people's belief systems, right? So in a way, my belief system has been shaped by an unwillingness to believe in others' belief systems, which is still a belief system, right? Ultimately. So it's more a matter of narrative, right? What serves you? My narrative is the thing that serves me as it relates to my capacity to show up in this world and actually do things, right? I see it as a leverage, right? It gives me momentum, right? Because I have all of this linear story that I can lean on that's always pushing me forward, right? But you don't need that. You might not have the same ambitions as me. You might find more comfort, as some of the yogis do, in meditating in a cave somewhere. I, however, don't believe that's the path that I'm here to follow, so I don't follow that belief system or the lack thereof. What's up, leader? I'm here to apologize about what I am saying. I understand. I'm so sorry, Hendrik. Love is true. No, 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 no. Bro, do you know anything about Egyptian gods? Yeah. World Ra and Basset and Horus and those are the main ones that I can remember right off the bat. I do know the Egyptian gods too. Cough. A lot of people already think I am God. Cough. All my 26 personalities do. At least they're saying that. I think some of them are lying. Just one of them is lying. And it's you. It's alright, Lucifer. You shall be forgiven. I don't have a belief. Some might say I'm crazy for that. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Shadow Monarch says, Sam, that's a question only you can answer for yourself. Do you feel the need for one? And their large, looming, and unanswered questions are there large, looming, unanswered questions in your life? It was me all along. It was you all along. You're the one pointing the gun at yourself, thinking it's you pointing it at someone else. Yeah, unanswered questions. Unanswered questions. Do I have any unanswered questions myself? It's an interesting caveat to think about. I don't find myself worried. Not these days anymore. Right? I feel, interestingly enough, Sam, one of the things that I felt very freed by as soon as I stopped believing in religion is the fact that I get to not know things. Right? No, I don't have actually. Yeah. You get to actually lean into the part of reality that's like, yeah, nobody knows what's going on. Nobody has the answer. Not really. Right? And if someone tries to convince you beyond a shadow of a doubt that they have all the answers and they are the number one or their God is the number one authority on everything, then that's a good sign that they aren't and they don't. Right? Because we don't. Not even the ultra wealthy, the ultra powerful amongst us know what the hell's going on. Nobody. Nobody knows anything, right? And if that's true, then what can we know? And I believe the one thing we can know is love, right? I can know love for my family, for my pets, for my beloved. I can know love in the cooking of a meal for myself or for my loved ones. I can know love in this moment, right? I love being here. I love being alive. I love having skin to feel with. Even though sometimes insects bite me and then I regret having skin and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Right? But again, it's because I love myself and I don't want to be bit by insects. Love is the one truth that we can rely on in this life. And it doesn't have to be explained. Right? It doesn't have to have questions attached to it necessarily. We're going full circle with this one. God is nothing, but only a positive energy which people sometimes feel, and some people name that positive energy God. Like the person who said, this word was also a human. Your parents told you about God. Exactly. I do believe that too. Answers melt, melt answers, melt regrets. I only give answers from my own perspective, Dream Tooth, right? And I make that clear over and over and over again in this space. I have never told you, friends, every single one of you have to start following my example, less your everything is gonna go bad for you. World's gonna end. Life is gonna be bad suddenly. Christian is going to explode. No, right? I just share what works for me. And if you want to apply what I've learned through my own trials and errors, you get to, right? That's the beauty of this space. I have learned from you friends, and I've seen things from you friends that I haven't applied in my life as well, right? And in that way, we kind of like keep ourselves open. And I feel like that's the most important thing we can do is like stay open to new information as it keeps coming in, right? Because there's a lot of information out here, too much sometimes for one person to process. And fortunately, you don't have to. All of us are processing together. All of us are these sensitivities, these receptors to universal wisdom, right? And the wisdom that might come to you might be different than the wisdom that's come to me. And if you share the wisdom that's come to you, I might find synchronicity. I might appreciate the things that you're sharing. Regretting is a learning opportunity. You should think more of it, in my opinion. I agree. I do agree. Right? I think that's what I was saying. I believe. Bro, imagine you're live streaming a jump over one of the walls behind and kidnap you in the live stream. Yes! Yo, make some noise! Make some noise, why don't you? Talking about getting kidnapped. Christian is kidnapping my audio scape. My peace and serenity. People are saying, Christian! Christian, we love you! We love you, Christian! You're the bestest Estes! I'm basically finished here, bro. I'm gonna join you in a second. Bro, imagine your live stream. Yeah, talking about Christian's back home. I heard you hawk that loogie. Yeah, he was. He was making spitting sounds, asshole as he is. Bro, where is Henry? I don't know. Usually you and Henry show up together, Moon Knight. I actually thought you were like conspiring to show up together, so you should answer me. Oh, that crab mating dance was immaculate. We dare to go beyond our limits. Always. Always pushing forward, right? Being at the tip of the spear, we are actively seeking out new limits, always. Now it is time. It is time for you to experience a work of art, and then a poem of read, and then a saying of goodbye. If I was a crab, I'd be on my way to South Africa right now. Bro, why do you touch your forehead? It's basically pulling my attention, Moon Knight, right? There's third eye kind of perspective, right? And there is like all of this stuff I can be aware of, right? And I can be aware of my hand, and I can be aware of my pepness, and I can be aware of my foot or my back that's hurting. But as soon as I touch my forehead, I pull my awareness to this part of my consciousness, right? To this like forward facing kind of like third eye perspective, right? And I believe I want to live from that third eye perspective more than I want to live from this bodily perspective. Why don't you touch his forehead? No, don't touch my forehead. Look at Art dead. Yes. Yes, witness. If possible, I would for sure. Yeah, see. You're joining me? Oh. You're leaving again?
Yeah, bro.
Why did you park the car? Where are you going, dude?
Forgot my phone in the car.
Oh, okay. At least not forgot your phone at Mug and Bean. Look at that. Isn't that a cool? Yes. Yes, feast your eyeballs. The Antichrist with his middle eye. Yeah, okay. Alright. Don't get me started with that whole fractal. I see fidget spinner in the middle. It does have some fidget spinner energy, doesn't? Yeah. Spin that fidget. Just witness. Witness with your eyeballs. Alright. That's today's work of art. And then I'll read you the poem that went along it. My brother, how you doing? It's nice having you here, Ams. Sending you blessings. Alright. I'm read. The shape of choice. We are the sum of every footfall we thought twice about, and every flame we leapt into anyway. Each breath a vote cast in the eternal parliament of what becomes real. They say the body keeps the score, but I say the soul keeps the story. In ligaments and lungs, in the quiet ache that hums, after a night of forgetting ourselves, we carry the edits, the regrets, and the radiant yeses that sang us into new lives. Our hands are maps, not of where we've been, but of the decisions we've gripped so tightly they left rivers in the skin. What we chose to hold, what we let go. And it isn't wild, and isn't it wild, how 1,000 small tilts of will brought us to this cliff, where the wind smells of tomorrow and the rocks below echo only. I'm gonna unsubscribe to your fuck. This fucking guy. We never arrive by accident. We are not driftwood. I'm gonna start with the isn't it wild? And isn't it wild how 1,000 small tilts of will brought us to this cliff, where the wind smells of tomorrow and the rocks below echo only if we fall. We never arrive by accident. We are not driftwood. We are vessels steered with trembling courage through storms we summoned and sunlight we forgot we deserved. Yes, we've burned. We've fed our fires things we knew would turn to smoke. We've worn masks so long we forgot our own jawlines, believing silence could be a shelter, but even ruin is a teacher, and we are brilliant students. Every wound a syllabus, every mistake a compass, every morning a door we are still worthy to walk through. So choose now, not for the shame behind, but for the bloom ahead. Choose like the world is listening, because it is, because you are the world, because your body is not a prison, but a garden, and every thought a seed. And the future is not waiting. It is becoming beneath your feet because of your hands with the weight of your witness. The access of your becoming turns not on fate, but on choice. And the next one is always yours. Christian is just doing ad-libs. Yeah. Christian is a poet as well. That's the best part, right? So him like finicky-ing my brain. Isn't that right, Christian?
What?
People are like, you're adding ad-libs, so...
I was adding ambiance.
He's adding ambiance. My poor mind distracted. This is a good one, actually. I like this one, bro.
I believe you.
Yeah. Akajo Athletics.
What color is this?
Red.
Fuck, man. God, fuck. Everyone I fucking meet
It's
tells me it's
red.
It's orange.
You're high. That's not orange.
Chat. Are they cooked? This is orange.
That is
right?
red. That's the most reddest red. Like it even
Out of
matches.
your mind,
Bro, look
bro.
at this. Look at that little live. That live is red. And now watch.
Not.
Oh,
You see how much lighter
it's
that is, bro?
red.
It's
Oh,
fucking orange.
it's fucking red. This guy. You might be colorblind.
You cooked.
You're colorblind. Stop. Please stop.
Yeah, he's cooked.
No, please. The millennial talk is murder. That's actually Gen
Gen
Z
Z.
talk is murdering my brain.
You're like practically Gen Z.
You're like practically millennial, aren't you?
I'm millennial.
Yeah, I actually I'm like on the cusp of being a Gen Z.
A zillennial.
Yeah, zillennials. Neon orange, reddish. I just saw reddish. Yep, that's right. That's Red. Oh,
Orange.
that's definitely red, dude. I don't know what you're on about. Who have you been asking, bro?
Everybody. Louisa, this is like famous from when I started working at Stratosoft as well. I got this hoodie, and I was adamant that it was orange, and apparently it's officially royal
Yeah.
red.
Yeah,
apparently.
maybe royal red. Like that is orange, right? That
And-
color,
and then-
right? That right there.
and I was so flabbergasted to discover, you know. And so, like, I went to see Louisa yesterday, and she's like, "Oh, it's nice to see you still wearing your red hoodie."
Yeah. Louisa.
Was mine.
He's the one guy that believes. I mean, are you colorblind?
I
Do you
might
actually
be.
know?
I think so.
Yeah,
When
maybe-
it comes to like orange red, it's hard for me to differentiate.
Like, you know that
because this
scarf of mine?
looks orange to me.
You know that scarf of mine that's like extremely orange?
Yeah.
That in my mind is what I think when I think orange, right? So that is like so red to me in comparison that I'm like, not a fucking chance. So that's not orange. All right, it's on the verge of red. You're both right. I'd accept both answers. There we go.
Yeah.
Both of us.
There we go.
Both of us right. I
Peace.
am done. I finished my poem. I am Napoleon, Emperor Napoleon
Bonaparte.
Bonaparte.
guys, you need to hear this.
And stream
You need
quickly.
to-
Yes.
we were asking. I don't know. We were reading something at chat,
Oh.
and it had to do with a certain French emperor. Was it emperor or king? I think it was king. Anyway, Estienne pronounced it Charlemagne.
Charlemagne. Charlemagne.
Char- it was Charlemagne.
Like if Charlemagne is spelled like that, then whoever spelled it that way is the stupid one. Thank you very much. Like where in your life do you say Charlemagne and there's a G somewhere in there, right?
Charlemagne.
I'm Afrikaans speaking as well. Our G's are like right? So there's just suddenly a CHA and then a NE and I'm like, yeah, must be like good kind of sound. Charlemagne.
Charlemagne.
Yeah. Timothy Charlemagne. No, not like that. I don't think Timothy Charlemagne like that again. That's the way Timothy Charlemagne's name is spelled with an M-A-L-A-N-E-T.
No. Charlemagne. Emperor Charlemagne, French emperor.
Yeah.
French king?
Bro looks like a federal agent. Christian is actually undercover FBI agent, right? Like they couldn't
KGB.
Yeah, they couldn't contain me alone, so they had to like send an agent to come and like infiltrate my life directly. It wasn't good enough to like stare at me through the cameras because I live stream every day.
We joked the other day about you infiltrating my life just to have that moment to steal my car.
Oh
And
yeah.
finally getting
Like
my car
this
keys.
weekend, Christian, when he came and fetched me, you know, he goes to the bathroom after giving me his keys, and he's like, and I make the joke of me like stealing his vehicle, of me playing the longest game. You know, I've known him for going on 8 years now. Steal his car. I would have to steal more. I'd have to steal your dad too, bro.
You
The
like
car
my
is not
dad?
enough. Oh yeah, he's pretty
he's
cool.
isn't he? So badass.
Also, Hendrik said that if he was a crab person, he would have been running right now, bro. With that crab dance that you did, he wants to see you do the crab mating dance again. Give me the crab
I'm
mating
actually
dance,
famous
Christian.
for the crab mating dance. It was from a D&D campaign where we had to emulate how we would dance in front of the dangerous crabs in the dungeon. There was actually an amazing story where Duncan's character and my character had to go through a certain section of the dungeon that had giant crabs. So we used our charisma to convince the crabs
Flirt
there were
with the
other
crabs. It's
So
like,
we walked
"Don't look
past
at me."
during the crab dance.
Bro.
And the funniest thing is, it was like a bard half-elf and a tiefling draconic sorcerer. So it's like the two of them together in a dungeon doing a crab dance past everything. It's just such a beautiful image in my head.
I don't know why, and this is super cursed, Christian, but
Yeah.
the only thing that I could think about in you telling me that story is the video of a crab, like, standing, and there's like a bunch of baby crabs that got born, and then he's just like...
So many.
He's just eating them,
So
bro.
many.
Oh, jeez, that's dark. Did Napoleon Dynamite make it outside the US? I saw the Napoleon Dynamite. Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Yeah, Christian saw it too.
I actually didn't watch Napoleon Dynamite, but I do know of it. Sorry.
I've watched it twice, just because I watched it again
What
because
was-
of how cultural significant it is.
On the topic of crabs, I saw another video where a bald eagle tried to eat a crab, and the crab took him down like fucking Kratos does a Titan.
While he was flying with it?
No, he was on a rock and he like tried to bite this crab. The crab fucking grabs its tongue, bro.
Oh,
And this eagle
jeez.
falls in the water and can't flap because it gets wet, bro. So you just see the eagle disappearing behind the rock. And
Oh
this
my
crab
goodness. Crab doesn't want to get ate. I appreciate you friends for joining me. I'll see you again tomorrow.
Casa Bastasa Sukino Babantu, by all means be happy and free. Shanti 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 Namaste.
Om Shanti. Dear friends, peace be to you. I'll see you again soon tomorrow.